Hey landlord, in this video we're talking about setting the rent for your rental properties. This is important in a couple ways. It's not just about trying to maximize profits for your rental properties, but it's also about trying to find that right balance so you can find a good tenant where that rent price works for them as well. Looking at here is your typical y-axis, and on the y-axis we have the quality of your rental unit. So, what kind of shape is it in, how updated is it, and then on the x-axis we have the rent amount. So from going from left to right, it is very low to very high. So this line in the middle here is showing that there's a direct correlation, as we all know, based on how much you can charge and the quality of the rental unit. And what we have here in the middle is really the rent range for your neighborhood and what you can charge. And what I want to show you is a couple free tools that you can use to figure out exactly what the rent range is, and then try to figure out where you fall in that rent range and how you might be able to maximize your profits. Now let's say you live in an area where rents go for $1,000. If you're trying to get $1,500 up here, you're just not going to get any applicants to your rental property. And if perhaps you're charging $700 and you could have been charging higher, you're just losing out on profitability of your rental. So let's jump into the computer and look at a couple free tools to figure out how you can price your rental properties, because that's a really important aspect, again, of not only the profitability, but also what kind of renters you're going to attract to your rentals. So we're going to check out 3 different services here that can give you an idea of what you might want to charge for your rental property. The first one you might be familiar with is called Rentometer. I've already put in my rental address here, and then I clicked to analyze my results, and you can kind of see it gave me an average of $974, median of $950, and a range of about $700 to $1,200. All right, so that gives you kind of a quick guess right here. And you might be familiar also with Zillow. And when you put your property into Zillow, it gives you not only your Zestimate for what you could sell the property for, but also your rent Zestimate. So Zillow says, we think this is worth about $1,100. Rentometer, on average is about $974, and it's saying $700 to $1,200. One of the things that has been brought to my attention is that Cozy, which is a property management tool. They offer a rent estimate report, and it's pretty comprehensive, but it's going to cost you $20 to get it. And if you are interested in something like this, basically what they're doing, so you can see this report here and what it looks like. All right. Well, that report is actually being pulled from a service called rentrange.com. So if you were interested in that and you wanted to save a little bit of money, if you look at RentRange's pricing, credits start at $350 and go down from there if you purchase more. And a report, so if you want a rent estimate report that you would get from Cozy, the same exact product, it would cost you the most $14. So it'd be, $350 times 4, it'd be $14. So what I did is I decided to run my property through RentRange, and just wanted to give you kind of a comparison of what you're looking at. So here is the report that should look familiar from what you saw on Cozy. So they are telling me the rent range estimate is $1,090. So that's actually kind of the middle of the ground, pretty close to what Zillow's estimate had said. I have found that that is actually a pretty good indicator of middle of the road rent of that rental property. And it's kind of cool. They give you some other information. I thought this was interesting too, because this property is in Buffalo, New York. You can see the days on market are very high during January and February because it's very cold and nobody wants to move. But you can see that it kind of mellows out closer to the national averages. And it's just a really interesting report altogether. It gives you comparables or comps, as you're probably familiar with the term from buying a home. So I can see all the different areas and what they're getting for their rent. And supposedly the data that they're pulling this from is much more accurate than what Zillow and Rentometer is getting as well. So I just wanted to kind of show you this as a possible tool, just to kind of give you a little bit more in depth. But if you're comfortable too with just asking your neighbors, asking around, looking on Craigslist, Zillow, Rentometer, and figuring out what the proper range is for your rental property. So then what I would recommend is maybe just going to Zillow and see what people are asking for. So, in my neighborhood right here, you can see that actually the high end, the 1.2, 1.6. So what do these properties look like? Take a look at the photos. Are they in a lot better condition than the property I have now? Maybe 1.6 might be a little bit high considering the condition of the floors in this property. But you know, maybe it's got some amenities or things that aren't included, but this is a great way to just be able to go through. And now that you kind of have an idea of what Rentometer and different services are telling you, you can start to just kind of do a little research here and see what people are asking for in your area. So how does the kitchen compare to this kitchen that's asking for $1,200? How does the bathroom compare? They're a little outdated and they're still asking for $1,200. That is the best way that you're going to be able to find what you should be charging for your rental properties, and make sure that you're not charging too little or too much. And the easiest way to find out if you're charging too much is if you get very little interest in your rental property after you post your listing. Hopefully this tutorial has helped you to figure out what you should be charging for your rental property.